I'm Tanya Kane-Perry.
And I'm Michael LeBeau.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending May 9th, 2020. Germany's Bundestag voted on May 7th to outlaw so-called conversion therapy for anyone under the age of 18. The legislation was introduced in the parliament by Health Minister Jan Svan, the country's highest-ranking out public official. It was backed by Chancellor Angela Merkel, and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier is expected to sign it into law. That will make Germany the fifth nation on the planet to ban the practice for minors. Conversion therapy claims that anyone who is not cisgender and heterosexual can find the straight and narrow through therapy. Prayer is often a prime component in the widely discredited cure, sometimes accompanied by bizarre methodologies. Anyone engaging in the practice can get up to a year in jail and/or tens of thousands of dollars in fines under the bill. There are also penalties for parents or guardians who force or deceive a minor into undergoing conversion therapy, as well as for anyone who advertises or promotes it. The Greens and other leftist parties pushed for the same protections for people aged 18 to 26. Most of Germany's LGBTQ organizations are applauding the legislation, except for that omission. However, a provision of the new law apparently does protect those young adults if the so-called conversion therapy was coerced. Malta, Ecuador, Brazil, Taiwan, and some U.S. and Australian states have already enacted similar legislation. Canadian lawmakers are currently considering banning the bogus practice there.
Indonesia seems to be going in the opposite direction when it comes to converting queers. Lawmakers there are likely to pass a so-called family resilience bill that would essentially require LGBTQ people to undergo rehabilitation to expunge their variant sexual orientations or gender identities. The resulting anti-queer rhetoric by Indonesian religious and government leaders has brought media attention to the practice of performing so-called exorcisms. Indonesia is by population the world's largest predominantly Muslim country, but a traditional shamanist strain runs through the Southeast Asian island nation, and it's a widely held belief that evil spirits possess LGBTQ people. The Bangkok Post talked this week with some queer Indonesians who have been traumatized by these exorcisms and with some practitioners who claim that they have successfully cured queer people. A transgender woman said she was locked in a room for days while being bombarded by verses from the Quran. She was also doused with freezing water by an imam to purge her disease. One exorcist who claims to have cured about 10 clients told the Post that he places his hands on a client, reads from the Quran, and watches for signs that the evil spirits are being expelled. The Family Resilience Bill would specifically ban same-gender and S&M sex and threaten offenders with losing custody of their children. Former Indonesian Women's Commission member Budi Wayoni spoke up for the minority position, telling the Post, "Conversion therapy, such as exorcisms, amounts to violence against LGBT people. Indonesia has an ostensibly secular federal government, but allows its province of Aceh to be governed by harsh Islamic law. Gay and lesbian people there are regularly caned in the public square."
A well-known actor in predominantly Muslim Egypt has made history by proudly embracing his transgender child. 62-year-old Hashem Salem shocked many viewers during a television interview this week when he and his son Noor discussed the difficulties Noor has faced. Salim said, "As his father, I have to help him be able to live the life that he wants. The problem in Egypt is we either have female or male. We don't have anything in between." The now 26-year-old Noor came out as transgender to his father at the age of 18. Transition surgeries are rare in Egypt and require religious approval if they're performed at all. The father and son told Jafar Talk that they decided not to seek approval for the surgery Noor got because they expected to be condemned. Noor said that only God could judge him. LGBTQ people suffer routine discrimination and physical violence in Egypt. Homosexual acts are not specifically outlawed, but gay men are routinely targeted in police raids at social gathering places. Typically, the charge is debauchery, which is against the law. Transgender people don't fare any better. Under Egyptian law, Noor is still legally female. Social media response to Hashem and Noor's televised revelation has been mixed, though mostly positive. Father and son were damned by some for violating Islamic law, but praised by others for their courage. One Twitter user called it a conversation that has been missing for so long. Noor said during the interview, "Try to understand me. Don't hate me without knowing me at all."
Secular democracy also seems to be waning in Turkey for LGBTQ people as much or more than for everyone else. Leading Muslim cleric Ali Arbash kicked off Ramadan with a sermon in which he said, "Islam curses homosexuality, which brings with it illnesses and decay. Let's work together to protect people from such evil." Arbash heads Turkey's Directorate of Religious Affairs. His remarks, made in late April, were criticized by the Ankara Bar Association and a number of human rights groups. However, the increasingly autocratic President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called the cleric's comments totally right, adding that an attack against Arbash is an attack on the state. Now the government is taking action against a sinister rainbow connection. Children in COVID-19 lockdown around the world have drawn and posted rainbows as a sign of hope for those in isolation and in support of healthcare workers on the front lines of the pandemic. Turkish teachers urged their lockdown children to join in, and some of their artwork was posted online by the Istanbul Modern Art Museum. But Turkey's education ministry called the project a plot to turn kids queer. It ordered schools to prevent children from drawing what it labeled the LGBT symbol of perversion. Teachers who encouraged the rainbow paintings are accused of spreading LGBT propaganda. Turkish queer advocacy group, the Social Policy, Gender, Identity, and Sexual Orientation Studies Association, tweeted, "There is no color of hate in the rainbow."
On one hand, Hungary's despotic leader Viktor Orbán is using the COVID-19 pandemic to suppress the human rights of his transgender citizens. He's pushing a bill to replace gender with birth sex on all legal documents. On the other hand, Hungary leapt over most of the industrialized world this week by completely lifting its ban on blood donations by sexually active gay and bisexual men. Just as it is for heterosexual donors, risky behavior is disqualifying. Activists are lobbying for similar action in a number of countries, including Australia and the United Kingdom. Despite a desperate need during the pandemic, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is sticking to its recently announced reduction in the celibacy requirement for blood donations by gay and bisexual men from 1 year to 3 months.
2 African-American gay men won Pulitzer Prizes in literature this week. Michael R. Jackson's musical A Strange Loop made him the first black writer to win the prize for musical theater. The New York Drama Critics Circle named A Strange Loop the best musical of the 2019-2020 season, and it's been nominated for 6 Drama Desk Awards. Poet Jericho Brown won a Pulitzer for his collection The Tradition. It was also a National Book Award finalist. Copper Canyon Press says its poet questions why and how we've become accustomed to terror in the bedroom, the classroom, the workplace, and the movie theater. Jericho Brown is a poet of Eros. Here he wields this power as never before, touching the very heart of our cultural crisis.
Finally, famed helmsman Hikaru Sulu of Star Trek's Enterprise has phasers locked on Donald Trump. This week, his alter ego, George Takei, shared with his 2.9 million Twitter followers a novel approach to keeping homophobes indoors during the novel coronavirus pandemic. The 83-year-old actor wrote, "I'm starting a rumor on the Breitbart chats that COVID-19 turns you gay. That should keep a lot of those idiots at home." The conservative website published a story about the Takei tweet, apparently feeling it necessary to warn its more gullible readers that the proud gay Asian human rights activist was just kidding.
Oh my!
That's NewsWrap, global queer news with attitude for the week ending May 9th, 2020. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is usually recorded in the studios of KPFK Los Angeles, but we're recording remotely during the COVID-19 emergency. The news is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out Radio YouTube channel. For This Way Out, I'm Tanya Kane Perry. Stay healthy.
And I'm Michael LeBeau. Stay safe.